are thanking you for letting us do this with the Bird Club, and I hope you will enjoy it. And here we go. So this is the part of the sort of introduction I have. I'm doing it now, and we're going to talk about birds that are common to Alberta and Florida. And then I challenged myself to do an ABC of birds and other special birds, herons, and then the white birds. That's where I started this whole idea because all the white birds were just kind of overwhelming. So I wanted to share especially the differences. So here's me with my 300 millimeter camera, doing what I love best in the greenery and by the water in Florida. My parents had a place down in Florida, and we used to go down there quite a bit. Tony and I, my husband, they'd stay 6 months of the year, we'd go for a couple of weeks. This year, so we did the same sort of thing. We rented a park model. This one is by Lake Okeechobee. Have you heard of Lake Okeechobee? It is down by Lake Okeechobee, which is the biggest lake in Florida. Can you see it there? It is right in the bottom middle. There, use your glasses and you can see it. And so we were right close there. And with all the fishermen, and we got a lot of crappie fish, it's called. Actually, that's the name of the fish. And they would share it with us. Then we moved up the next month closer to Disneyland, Disney World, and this is in Kissimmee. We also in 2011 and 2012 took our trailer, our fifth wheel down to Florida and just took our time visiting a lot of the state parks. So we've seen the Florida prairies. We've birded under the big oak trees with its Spanish moss. We've been to the Atlantic Ocean and on the Gulf side, always looking for birds. We even spent a Christmas down in Florida, more towards Key West at the bottom. We've been to the Everglades. This particular boardwalk, I'm sorry to say, is not there anymore. It only goes up to it and then it starts to break apart, so they've not fixed it yet. So maybe when you get there, they'll have fixed it. And even in Disney World, you can find birds if you're looking. When you are there, you should be looking at the neighbors' feeders. That's where do you find the birds? Well, look at your neighbors' feeders wherever you are. These are the painted buntings and indigo buntings and beautiful birds right there at the feeder. Go to the parks. Maybe there's a park nearby. This is a sandhill crane that had some chicks, and you get some lovely pictures right up close because they're used to people. Look where the other photographers are looking. Catch their eye line of where they're looking, and maybe you'll find something special too. And there's drives. During some research on the internet, we found these drives. This one is on Merritt Island, and you see the road is right close to the ditch, which is right close to all the greenery and water, and the birds like to be there. Those are ibis. Speaking of ibis, ask where the birds are roosting at night. Even if it's not a birder you're talking to, they will know if there's a loud squawking bunch of birds roosting somewhere close by. Then you can also be looking for particular places where birds are roosting to nest. And this is Wada Hatchkey. I can't even say it. A lot of them have the native names, but look it up. Where do birds, and you can walk on the boardwalk. They put a boardwalk right there so you can get up close to where the birds are nesting. Here's a wildlife refuge, Ding Darling. Well, you're not going to forget that name. That's quite unusual. It was named for Mr. Ding Darling. And beautiful. You got to drive right beside the ditch, right beside the water. And it's like they planned it. The wetlands, they make wetlands there to filter the water before it goes back to the ocean. So this is close to Orlando. It's a large facility. They've built boardwalks so you can walk through it and see all the birds that are also using this wetland. Another word for that is sort of like water reclamation area. These ones are not as tourist friendly. They have the gates, but sometimes you're allowed to go with a birding club, for instance, and drive on the berms, stop, get out, and look at the birds that are using this area as well. Sometimes internet and research will lead you to some very crappy kinds of uh, places that you can go where, oh darn, we didn't even see nothing. We just walked and walked and walked and we didn't see anything. But there's always alligators. Everywhere you go, there's alligators. A lot of tourists like the alligators. But remember, there's no swimming with alligators, in case you didn't know. And all Florida lakes and ponds have snakes and alligators. So if you're going to Florida, stay out of the water. Another touristy thing to do is look for the manatees. These are, they also are called sea cows, and they're a relative of the elephant. And they like to be in the warm water, maybe by a power plant or by a natural spring like Blue Spring State Park. Very well protected. And if nothing else, then you can always look for insects. We found this Io moth when someone beside us had put up a sheet at night, and wow, I never forgot that one. Oh, don't forget, you can always go looking for lighthouses and check them off the list. So lots to do in Florida, but let's get back to birding. So lots of birds in Florida. Some of you also see in Alberta. So thanks to Gerald Romanchuk, I have found there is a song that I'll play that shows you birds that I saw in Florida, pictures from Florida, but also see.
I can't look at the rocket launch, the trophy wives of the astronauts, and I won't listen to their words, 'cause I like birds. I don't care for walking downtown, crazy auto car gonna mow me down. Look at all the people like cows in a herd. Well, I like birds. If you're small and on a search, I've got a feeder for you to perch on. I can't stand in line at the store. The mean little people are such a bore. But it's alright if you act like a turd, 'cause I like birds. If you're small and on a search, I've got a feeder for you to perch on. If you're small and on a search, I've got a feeder for you to perch on. I've got a feeder for you to perch on. If you're small and on a search, I've got a feeder for you to perch on.
So that's a whole bunch of birds that we got off the top of the list right away. But I also thought, okay, there's so many more pictures I have. How am I going to do it? So I decided, since I make quilts for my grandchildren using ABC, A is for something, B is for something, we're going to do ABC of Florida birds. It's hard sometimes to find the right bird to match the letter. So I'm going to show you some of my fun pictures as well. Like A is for ambitious. So this is a cormorant trying to eat a fish. It took him a long time. We actually had to leave. We never knew if he ended up giving up or if he actually ate the fish. Bunting, painted bunting. Oh, beautiful bird. And what better? That's one of my favorites, and you'll see it again later. The crested caracara for C. He's like a vulture, but he's more not really of the vulture family. He eats a lot of dead stuff along the edge of the roads. The dove, the common ground dove, a little bit different than the mourning dove because he's got the pink bill and the pink feet, a little bit of scaling on the back of his head. Oh, and a little bit of risque video for it, not video, show for you. We've got the mating bald eagles. This flamingo was probably in a tourist spot like Discovery Cove, but um, it isn't easy to see the flamingos there. They are there, but they're usually way far away on the other side of the lake, and you only get a little polka dot of pink in your binoculars. So here's your flamingo. The gnatcatcher, you think, oh, look, I found a warbler. And then you get your camera on him or your binoculars and you realize, oh no, it's the blue-gray gnatcatcher. Cute little guy, very a lot of them around. This is a beautiful bird. Hawks, you might think of our red-tailed hawk, of course, but this one doesn't just have the belly band, it has a whole belly full of red and a little bit on his shoulders as well. The glossy ibis. This ibis has not got the white all the way around his eye like the white-faced ibis does. And he's supposed to be more bronze colored, but I thought he was pretty spectacular in the coloring. The Florida scrub jay. There's going to be a quiz afterwards. This is the endemic bird of Florida, and it nicely fits in with J is for scrub jay. A kite? Imagine looking up into the sky and seeing this kite just when you thought there was no birds in this whole place you were walking and walking. It was really fun to find him. A laughing gull. This one is in breeding colors with the red bill. I guess he's been eating something because he's got a little more black, but the crescents on his eyes. The mockingbird is the state bird, and here he is. He can do a lot of different sounds and calls, sometimes matching different machinery even. Now, N, believe it or not, is a very hard letter to find something for. So if I had a picture of the brown-headed nuthatch, that would have been great, but I didn't. So here's a nesting anhinga. The anhinga is the guy, the black one there, that's the male, and he's taking care of the white anhinga chicks. Osprey, well, of course, you've seen them here too, hopefully. And Parula, Northern Parula. This guy's on the front of the Warbler Guide, so it's always nice to see him in the wild. Q for question. I didn't know what to do for Q, but then I put on Facebook, there's a group called the Bird ID of the World. I put up this fellow and I said, is this a Virginia rail? Because that's what I thought he was. And they said, well, he could be a clapper rail. Was he by the shore or more inland? You know, so the ocean, with the clap, clap, clap of the waves, that's where the clapper rail goes. The Virginia rail, if you think of the whole state as a big landmass, that's where the Virginia rail is, more inland. And by this time in my making up the video and everything, or the PowerPoint, I had lost the place and time where I was to find this bird. So it's still a question. Beautiful orange beak on the royal tern, black legs. This skimmer opens his mouth. His upper beak is shorter than his his lower mandible, and he opens his beak, skims along the top of the water, and when he feels a fish, he snaps it closed, his mouth closed, and catches the fish and goes off to eat it. One of the few, he might be the only one that does that as a bird. A ruddy turnstone. Underneath, the brown pelican is underneath the cormorant. The brown pelican was sitting there, nice, minding his own business. He had a bunch of friends in the rest of the tree, and along comes the cormorant, and he was having none of it. Get out of here, my tree. I'll give your eyes a minute to adjust to find the white-eyed vireo. He's nicely blended into all the foliage, but he's got that white eye that makes him easy. Once you've got him, you've got him. Even the Carolina wren comes down to Florida for the warmth and the, I don't know, maybe he's there all the time, but that's what we do as snowbirds. We go down to Florida. What would you do for X? Well, it turns out the Latin name for yellow-headed blackbird is two of the same words that Xantholephes. I'm not going to try anymore. You can see it there. That's what it is. And Z, no, yellow, white. Yeah, Y is for yellow throat in the marshes. And Z is, back to the insects again, a zebra-winged butterfly. Because I didn't find any Z birds, unless I went to the Latin again. So that is that. Now we've done number 1 and number 2 and number 3. So we're moving right along. We're going to talk about some other special birds of Florida. Remember, always be looking for birds. This is a causeway where the pelicans are going to be dive bombing for their fish, and they might not notice the cars, so you got to watch out too for them. So first, let's talk about the Florida ducks. Huey, Dewey, and Louie. The mottled duck. The mottled duck has, you think at first, oh, it's just a female mallard, but no, it has some really nice feathering, but also the yellow beak on the male and the orange beak on the female there. And when they're in a pair and you see two, you can maybe put it together. That's the mottled duck. A different view of a cinnamon teal. These birds, of course, are a little bit the same as what we see up here, the northern pintail, the redhead, but you get close. It's so fun because they're right there, either in the ditch or you're on the boardwalk and you can take some nice pictures. Beautiful bird. The wood duck comes up to Calgary. That's as close as it comes to us, I think, ever. Maybe somebody else can say something, but um, spectacular. And his little female, it's got that special look so that you can recognize her as well. And then the blue-winged teal, the blue, this is the female, it's also got the blue wings in there. The northern shoveler, green-winged teal. And here's one that you're not going to find up by us, and that's the black-bellied whistling duck. So he's got the black belly, he's got the bright orange beak, and he waddles around Florida with his pink feet, and very cute. And you can spot him from, across the lake because he's got that orange beak. And some random Florida birds. I like this red-headed woodpecker because, he's got a red head. That's easy. What's his name? Red-headed woodpecker. My kind of bird. The red-bellied woodpecker is not so easy because I don't see a red belly. I see the red cresting around his head, more on the red on the male than on the female, but that's what he is. He's a red-bellied. Eastern meadowlark, we have the western meadowlark up here in Alberta, but this is the eastern. They look pretty much the same. The gray catbird, he comes up here too, but well, when he sits there and poses for a picture, you got to include him. The white-tailed kite, kind of far away picture, kind of blurry, but pretty cool to get a picture of the white-tailed kite. The black vulture. Now, there was one place we went, the Anhinga Trail, and there were signs around. Please protect your windshield wipers and the rubber around your doors because this guy will come, the black vultures will come and peck at it. And true enough, they can't even figure out why. They think maybe it's good exercise for their beaks, like the texture of the rubber is the same as a dead something that they'd have to pull apart. But I thought it was maybe something they were trying to eat, but they're just trying to peck at it and practice with their beaks. I call this the red-headed vulture when I'm not thinking, but it's the turkey vulture. The anhinga. A is for anhinga. I had my choice of putting this under A, but I like that ambitious one. So the anhinga on the left is a female with the brown, and on the right is the black male, black neck male. They both have the blue around their eye, which means they're in breeding plumage. They also call this a snake bird off and on because if you can see, it's only his neck and head, his pointy bill that comes up out of the water. So he looks like a snake. So you've seen coots. This is a raft of coots, new word maybe for you, a raft of coots. But in Florida, you're going to find the common moorhen. It has a shield, but the shield is on his nose, that means, and beak, and it's red, like that, see? And his great big feet, similar to the coot, the same family. So you've got the American coot, which is the white shield, and the common moorhen, which is got the red shield and yellow pointy. But it gets better. In Florida, you also see the purple gallinule. Same family, same idea with the shield and the chicken-like shape. Um, but he's got the blue shield and his feathers are so gorgeous, all sorts of purples and blues and greens, and the big feet so that he can walk along on the top of the foliage in a marsh or a swamp or whatever. And off he goes looking for his kind of foods. So our surprise was we're driving along one of these drives, and here comes this guy out of the woods or out of the bush. And it turns out he's a gray-headed swamp hen. So he's much taller than the purple gallinule, but at first that's what we thought he was. But his shield is much more pronounced red with almost like eyebrows and this big orange beak. They were domesticated and they got loose, and so now they're all over well, not all over, but they're starting to produce and become a bird that you can find in Florida. Again, with the great big feet. Doesn't that look funny? And much taller. Did I mention he's taller? So here is the, what would you call this? The all about birds and how the difference is. So the adult swamp hen is a large colorful rail with heavy red bill, note the orange-red legs, and red forehead shield. The purple gallinule are considerably smaller than the gray-headed swamp hens with yellow shield, and I can't read it because I got all these people here. I'm afraid if I try anything, it'll go away. Yellow tipped and greenish back and bluish forehead shield. Sometimes you just go to the internet to find the answers. So when you go to the internet and you ask, okay, so what are the endemic birds? What are the threatened birds? What are the endangered birds? It just seems like it doesn't match up with what I found in Florida. For instance, they will suggest that the black skimmer is a state designated threatened bird. Well, I saw lots. The sandhill crane, state designated threatened. I found them all over. The little blue heron. Oh my goodness, there's so many of them. So instead of going into that sort of list, I found me a fun list from visitflorida.com, and it's 5 birds you won't see anywhere else in the USA. So again, the endemic bird. So what does endemic mean? It means that there's a species of bird that is found only in a specific geographic area and nowhere else in the world. And that is the Florida scrub jay. There are western jays and there are blue jays and Mexican jays, so they all have a different habitat and a different area of the United States, but the Florida scrub jay is only in Florida. We went looking all over for him and we said, how are we ever going to find one of these? But it turns out we were at Cape Canaveral seashore and you have to show your pass. We had a national park pass to get in. And we said to the guy at the gate, we heard there was some Florida scrub jays here. Where would they be? Not thinking, that he would know. Oh, he says, right over there. See the gate that goes towards the our area for that you're not allowed to go to, but up until there's a little parking lot and they're right there. So we drove over just that far. We could have walked if we had to parked the car and looked around. There was the Florida scrub jay. We had done another walk specifically for the Florida scrub jay. Oh my goodness, took us forever. Hot, miserable, and no Florida scrub jays. No, nothing. Number two, the snail kite. See that hooked bill he's got there? He goes around and looks for snails. He is formally called the Everglades snail kite. And he has a white patch on his tail that looks like a harrier. So you might want to look twice when you think you're seeing a harrier. This is the food of the apple uh, snail kite, or the snail kite. It is the apple snail. And over on the right are what I thought was at first were some gooey styrofoam kid's toy attached to a post in the water. But no, it is the eggs of the apple snail. So it looks like they're going to be uh, doing well in the next little while because they're going to have lots of snails to eat. Number three, the limpkin. The limpkin is a nice tall bird. He's a relative of the cranes and rails, brown and white speckled birds that stand about 2 feet tall. And fun because they don't look like many of the other birds, so you can say, oh, look, there's a limpkin. And ta-da-da-da, again, the PG-13 rating not happening here. Number four is a white-crowned pigeon. They show them as being in Florida, in the bottom part of Florida, not easy to find. And the other thing is these, if I may tell you, somebody said, don't tell them, but I'm going to tell you because you're my new best friends, right? This white-crowned pigeon actually comes from, the picture is from Cuba, but that's what he looks like. Again from Cuba, it's number 5 on their list from Visit Florida is the smooth-billed Annie. So you always have more you can go back to Florida for to find different birds and more birds and better pictures. One I'm going to show you here is the grasshopper sparrow. I added that because in our running into people, running into signs, whatever, we found out that the Florida grasshopper sparrow is an endangered type of bird. It is on the list for the federally designated endangered birds, as well as the Everglades snailkite. So the biologists fear an unexplained plunge in the population has left fewer than 200 in existence, possibly making the small bird the most highly endangered in North America. And it's breeding right smack dab in the middle of Florida there. And now you get to see my special favorites. Now, here's the American bittern. Always fun to get a good shot of that because he hides in the reeds and whatnot. But uh, why would you even call it your favorite? Well, I have a reason for that. It's because we got a picture of the least bittern. We were so excited. That is a lifer for us, meaning that we never saw this bird before or got a good picture of it. So we were very happy to see the least bittern, the great egret. Big bird, easy to spot. And when he's breeding, all these beautiful feathers. That's almost what killed him because in the 1800s, they wanted all these plumes for their hats, and so they would kill all the birds and get the plumes. The green around his eye tells you that he is breeding. And just, what do you say? Spectacular bird? Yes. This was in Venice at a rookery. That's the right word, not roosting, but rookery for birds. And they had the camera place set up right beside it, almost. I wanted to show you another couple pictures of the painted bunting because he's such a cool bird. Look at the back, all green and blue like that for the male. And how friendly is he that he comes to your bird bath or your food that you might put out? The roseate spoonbill. He takes this bill and swooshes it back and forth in the mud to find little crustaceans and fish and whatever he can find. Some say his pink might come from eating those things like shrimp that gives him the pink color. But does a really good job of being a beautiful bird that you can take pictures of. These pictures came from the Orlando wetlands, so we were right there and we could get good pictures of them. I'm going to leave them there. The one on the right, doesn't he just look like a ballerina? Anyways, uh, okay. And another nice picture of him, her. I can't tell the difference, male and female. See, there's a few chat questions. Not going to always be able to answer everything. This one, I like it. One of my favorite pictures because I got the eye right in focus. My son, who's a better photographer than I, when he wants to be, complained about the coloring on the bill, but at least his feathers are showing properly. So we've done a 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we're going to go into the herons found in Florida, which will lead us right into the white birds of Florida. So how are we doing for time? I can tell by this. Not too bad. So herons. Now this is where I'm hoping you're showing me some nice little laughing emojis. Nobody wants to talk about George's addiction to heron for those of you who can't see it. The great blue heron, he's the biggest one. And of course, we're going to talk about him first. We see him up here, and that's good. If you're lucky, you'll see him eating some fish. Here he is breeding. His feathers get a lot bigger and better. And you're going to see the little chick there. And the plume on his head is longer. And so he's breeding, and he's still breeding while he's having the chick, I guess. Okay. And now the chick is getting bigger, kind of uglier, actually, don't you think? And he gets even bigger to we'll call him immature now. He's still getting fed by his parent. Notice his tummy is all striped, and we don't see that up here. We see more of the one color tummy on the great blue heron, but this is an immature or a juvenile with all the colors, different colors on the tummy and the neck. The fun thing is there's a white morph, and at first you're like, oh, a big egret, but no, it's a great blue heron white morph. We're going to talk more about that when we talk about the white birds of Florida. The little blue heron. Now he's a smaller guy, about 24 inches, whereas the great blue was 46. And here he is in a normal coloring, sort of blue of all things, with a two-tone bill. And when he's breeding, his plume on his head gets longer, his back feathers get longer, his beak gets bluer, and his legs too, I think. Let's see. Yep, yellowish legs, bluish legs. And this is the chick. Funny little guy with a little ball of fur. But the juvenile is white. Who would have guessed? The little blue heron juvenile is all white with green legs, two-tone bill. when he starts to become more mature, he starts to turn the blue colors. You can see him molting here and becoming, turning his colors into blue. The tricolored heron, a new one. For us, it is a little bit bigger than the little blue, and it has three colors. It's sort of the white, blue, and some brown, I would say. His neck always has this variegated color along the a stripe along the front of it. You notice his tummy is very white. I'm sure there's a better word than tummy. And he is our big bird for our introduction. So isn't that fun when he is flying and he's breeding and his plumes are just fluffing all over the place? I love that. His chicks, we must not be there in chick time because we didn't get any of the chick pictures except the great blue. The juvenile, this one fooled me for a while, but here he is. More of the brown is showing up and his blue, but different than the tricolored adult because the tricolor doesn't have that much brown on it. The green heron, this is a little guy, one of the littlest of the herons, about 18 inches. How little is he? Well, if you're standing on the boardwalk and you look into the grasses and the marsh there, can you see the heron? I made it easy. There he is. But very tiny, wouldn't you say? This one was particularly blew me away as a small, small bird. When he's breeding, there's his red legs and his longer plumes again and feathers. So the chicks and the juvenile, more duller colors, really, not as spectacular as the green. It doesn't even look too green, sort of bluish. The black-ground night heron. We actually get them up here in Beaumaris Lake, but do we get that long white plume at the back? I don't think so. See that long white plume? That's when he's breeding. The chicks and the juveniles. So you've got this brownish color with stripes, sort of mushy brown stripes, I'd call it. But there's a yellow crowned night heron. So that was the black crown. This is the yellow crown now. Of course, he's got the yellow crown, whereas the other one was all black on top. And when he's breeding, again, the longer feathers, the redder legs, and the longer plume from the head. And he has a juvenile that I think looks quite a bit like the black-crowned night heron juvenile. This one, maybe the stripes are a little more distinct. What can you say? Well, let's look at the internet. What does it say all about birds? It doesn't give you much of it gives you a side-by-side at least. So now you've got that, you've learned, and you're going to be able to do it and tell the difference, right? Well, how about this? Does this help? If we talk about the flat forehead of the one and the more rounded of the yellow crowned, the thicker neck on the night heron, and the slimmer neck on the yellow. So, and there's all these pictures underneath to tell you everything. You can find that on reddit.com. So now you know. Now there'll be no question. You've got it in your mind, and off you go. Ha ha ha. It's still not going to be easy, is it? No. Well, a little more practice. That's going to be okay. So now we're going to look at the white birds of Florida. Let's look at them. I started this a long time after we came back this year. I thought, oh, I think I know. I once saw a t-shirt with all white herons and egrets, all of them white, but about 5 different kinds of herons and egrets that were all white. And I thought, I think I know the difference. And I thought, well, let me share it with the rest of you. So that was last year. But look at this is like 20 years ago, and I'm talking and I see this bird. Hey, white bird, look over here. Yeah, there we go. That's all I knew. It was a white bird. And that was when I was visiting mom and dad. Big deal. It turns out this is a snowy egret, I can tell you now. Of course, there's other white birds like the white pelican. This one is breeding. It has a little knob on the end of its beak that'll probably get bigger. Now, I want to show you these other white birds. Mute swan, this one's probably not going to be anything more than in a reserve or in a park where they put him and he's decided to live there because they aren't really native to Florida. The wood stork. Here is a funny looking bird. White, but look at all that black on his wings. When he's standing there, you might think, oh, okay, I get it. He's got white, he's a white bird, but that beak, that face, only a mother could love. The wood stork, one of the few storks, if maybe the only stork in Florida. The whooping crane. The whooping crane does come down to Florida and go migrate away. There's even a population that stays right in Florida. This one was in a zoo type area because otherwise they're pretty smart. They stay away from people. The white ibis. Now this one is starting to look like the herons and egrets of that I call the white birds of Florida, but that big long beak is the telltale sign that this is not a heron or an egret, this is an ibis. The one on the right is the breeding one with the redder face and redder legs. The little brown one there on the left, that is the juvenile. So we're not going to talk about him anymore, but here's the white ibis. He could have been included, but sorry, he's not going to get a spotlight here. He's 23 inches tall, length or something. Here we go. The white birds of Florida. We have first the cattle egret for your viewing pleasure. He's got a yellow beak and sort of nondescript legs, and da-da-da-da, he sits on the top of a cattle often. He is about 20 inches tall. And in breeding plumage, well, look at that, the reds again and the yellows and the longer feathers. And these feathers have a more of a beige tinge to them, brown. So you've got the great egret, that's the big white one there. No, we haven't talked about that yet, so never mind, you don't need to know about that. But we're going to talk about the little blue heron. It's sort of a comparison of size. You've got the great egret at 39 inches and the little blue at 24 inches. I hope you're okay with inches instead of centimeters and millimeters, because that's what I do. Okay, so little blue heron, all blue. Why do I even include him in white egrets and herons of Florida? Well, because if you remember, the little blue heron juvenile is white. So because he's sort of the same size, 24 inches, as a snowy egret coming up, you might think, oh, maybe that's just a snowy egret. But no, it is the little blue and the green legs, the dull bluish legs, is the clue, and the two-tone bill is the clue that this is the little blue heron juvenile. So again, we need to show you a variety here so that you have the introduction to what the white bird is coming. So here is a reddish egret. That's what the one on the left is, and over on the right is the little blue heron. It's not too hard in the field to see the difference because the reddish is 30 inches and the little blue is only 24. So the reddish is a much bigger bird. A medium-sized heron with shaggy rust-colored neck, slate gray body, and heavy two-tone bill. Whereas the little blue herons are smaller than the reddish egret and have a purplish colored neck. So here's the little blue heron. This one's pretty blue, actually. And the reddish egret. More of a scary looking bird. He'd be good at Halloween. You could dress up. Breeding plumage. Look at that guy in the wind. Woo! All the feathers flying all over the place. The two-tone pink bill and the longer feathers. And he's always on the shoreline because he's looking for fish. And there is a white morph. Who would have known? And he is also about 30 inches tall, so quite a large bird. He is doing canopy feeding here, where he's giving a shade so that he can see the fish in the water, and that helps him to see that. So the reddish egret white morph. We'll do a little final review because it might even be kind of confusing already. So we've got the pink bills and the black. So these are hard ones to find and to say spot and say, oh my goodness, yes, that's what that is. But here's an easy one. The snowy egret. I love him because he has yellow feet. Easy. Always yellow feet. And if he's breeding or not breeding, always with the yellow feet, yellow face. So snowy egret, yellow. What should I tell you? Or can you think up your own thing about getting yellow feet when you're walking in the snow? He is in breeding plumage, longer feathers, and yellow feet, yellow face. Another one, just because I love those birds that do that and get those big feathers and show them off. Again, one of those drives where we just drive by and he's in the ditch and boom, you take the picture. Easy. The great egret. Now this is the biggest one. He is 39 inches. The great blue heron white morph is 46, but this one's 39. So it's a little bit smaller, but still great. And he has completely black legs. The green, when he has the green on his face, like in the left picture, that means that he is breeding. There you go, breeding plumage. But not just his face turns green, his feathers, of course, just make a good showing. So it's very fun to get 100 different pictures of these guys. So great blue heron, why is he here again? Oh, because he's the biggest one. We're going in size order. And the great blue heron white morph. This is the 46-inch one. And I can't tell you how pleased I was to find that picture and find it back and take it in the first place. Being there at the right time, at the right place is a gift. So we've got the cattle egret. He's the smallest one. The little blue heron, juvenile. The snowy egret, this is the big finale, with the yellow feet. The reddish egret white morph. So you can see we've got a theme going here. They're all white. They're either egrets or herons. And the great egret getting bigger. And finally, the great blue heron white morph. Did you want to talk about the sizes? I got that ready for you. 20 inches on the cattle egret, little blue 24, snowy egret 24, reddish egret 30. So we're just getting a little bit bigger. And the great egret 39. So that's, when you're looking at a cattle egret, he's quite small compared to the great egret. And the great blue morph 46. So if you can do a screenshot, if you've got that on your total screen and you don't have all the people on the side, if you want to remember, this is the place to do it because this is the grand finale. And I think